This episode is brought to you by Indeed. When your computer breaks, you don't wait for it to magically start working again. You fix the problem. So why wait to hire the people your company desperately needs? Use Indeed's sponsored jobs to hire top talent fast. And even better, you only pay for results. There's no need to wait. Speed up your hiring with a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
How do you top your love for your cat? With a cascade of decadent savory gravy over a mouth-watering mousse pâté. Fancy Feast gems. 2 gourmet pâtés in one convenient pack. Simply peel and plate to reveal a pyramid shape that makes eating delightful and pamper her with an experience as extraordinary as she is. Turn the everyday into the extraordinary with Fancy Feast gems.
Welcome to Her Extraordinary Life by Design, where we celebrate women who are shaping their lives one extraordinary day at a time. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, self-care coach for women who are ready to make self-care a priority to support them in life and business. Every week, I'll be speaking with inspiring women from various walks of life who will share their personal journeys and will discover how they have fearlessly carved their own paths as business owners, passionately pursuing their dreams and creating a meaningful impact on their communities. So let's get started. You ever have one of those days where you wake up determined to be focused, meaning you've got your coffee, your to-do list in front of you, and your mindset's all on point, but somehow, by noon, your brain already feels like it's in 5 places at once, like you're jumping from Zoom to Slack to email and back to Zoom again. And you promise yourself you'll take a break after this next meeting, but next keeps getting pushed later and later. And before you know it, you're powering through an autopilot, half focused, half distracted, and convincing yourself that if you just get through this one last thing, then you'll rest. But here's what's tricky about that. That one last thing always turns into another and another and another. And before you know it, the day's gone, your energy's spent, and you can't quite pinpoint why. All because you never actually paused long enough to notice you needed to pause, that you needed to take a break. I want you to understand that it's not a lack of motivation and it's not a lack of discipline. Let me repeat that. It's not that you don't have the motivation, and it's not that you don't have the ability to do the things. What's happening is that it's a lack of micro resets. It's what happens when your body and your brain are begging you to pause, but your schedule doesn't give you permission to breathe. And somewhere along the way, you've convinced yourself that stopping isn't an option or that everything would unravel if you did. You see, most high-performing women think focus comes from discipline, from pushing harder, from forcing their brain to stay on. But what if focus didn't come from force at all? What if it came from rhythm? From the moments that you choose to reset before you crash. Because here's the truth. The most resilient women I know don't wait until they're empty to recover. Instead, they build their recovery into the rhythm of their days. Tiny intentional moments that keep them grounded, clear, and focused. And that's what I want to talk about today. Hello, and welcome back to Her Extraordinary Life by Design podcast. I'm your host, Leslie Gaudet, and in today's episode, we're exploring how micro resets can help you maintain your focus and your clarity throughout the day, not as an afterthought, but as part of a rhythm that you intentionally design to support your energy before it's gone. You see, resilience isn't built when you rest at the end of your day. It's built in the moments you protect throughout your day. And when you start building in those resets into your day with intention, something shifts because your focus starts to feel steadier, your energy stretches further, and you move through your day with a greater sense of calm and control. So let me bring this a little closer to home. Picture this. It's 2:45 p.m. You've been in back-to-back Zoom meetings since you first got up this morning, and you can feel your focus is slipping. Your eyes are stinging from staring at the screen, your jaw's tight, and you're half listening to what's being said while mentally rehearsing what's next on your to-do list. You promise yourself you'll take a break after this call, but then another notification pops up. So you do what you always do. You push through. You grab your water, you stretch for 2 seconds, and you jump into the next thing, hoping momentum will carry you through the rest of the day. But by 4, your brain feels foggy. You're rereading the same email 3 times. You can't find the words that usually flow easily, and that quiet frustration sets in. Why can't I focus? Why is this happening again? Right? Well, it's not a focus problem. It's a recovery problem. You see, you've been running nonstop without giving your brain a chance to catch up. That now it's doing the only thing it knows how to when it's maxed out, and that's to shut down to protect you. There's no margin for recovery, the space that you need so you can stay sharp without running yourself into the ground, because you've used all your mental energy without giving your brain the signal to reset. And you've slipped into autopilot, which is why you find yourself staring at the screen, rereading the same line, but not actually absorbing it. Does that sound familiar? Now imagine this instead. Same day, same workload, but this time, in between calls, you take 3 intentional minutes not to scroll, not to respond to emails, but to close your eyes and breathe, to stretch your body, to notice what your body needs before you move to what's next. You'd be surprised just how quickly those 3 minutes can recalibrate you. Because it's not about taking time away from your responsibilities as much as it's about giving your energy room to recover so that your focus can stay consistent. It's about creating a rhythm, those short pauses that don't just clear your head, they give your energy somewhere to land. And that one simple act of micro resetting doesn't just save your focus for the next task, for the next thing, it shifts the entire tone of your day. Because here's the truth. Micro resets aren't breaks you earn after exhaustion. They're the system you insert into your day that protects your energy before depletion even begins. And that's what I want to unpack with you today. How these small, intentional resets can help you stay clear, calm, and energized and focused all day long, no matter how much your day asks of you. So here's where I want to take us in today's episode. First, we're going to unpack the myth that staying focused just means powering through, because what most high-achieving women call focus is actually adrenaline, that wired alert, can't stop momentum that feels productive in the moment, but it leaves you scattered, overstimulated, and unable to switch off your brain later. Then we'll look at what's really happening when you skip recovery in the name of getting it done or getting ahead. Because every time you move from one task to the next without a pause, your brain never gets a chance to reset. And that's why clarity fades even when you're doing work you love. And finally, I'll show you how micro resets, the 3 to 5 minute pauses most people overlook, can become a secret weapon you use to support your focus, sharpen your decision making, and help your energy stay steady throughout your day. Because true resilience isn't built from intensity, it's built from rhythm, the one that you design. So by the end of our time together, my hope is that you'll walk away with a deeper understanding of how and why your energy slips and how tiny intentional resets can help you stay clear, calm, and in control so that your energy lasts. So first, let's start with one of the biggest myths high-achieving women like us often carry about focus, and it's this: that staying focused means pushing past the signals that tell you to pause. Telling yourself, I'll slow down once this project wraps up, even when your body's tight, your shoulders are tight, your breath's shallow, and your brain's starting to blur. You promise yourself, I'll take a real break after the launch, even though your patience is running thin and every decision feels heavier than it should. And you think, if I can just get ahead this week, then I'll rest, even as you're running on caffeine and adrenaline just to make it through the day. And every time you feel like you're almost done, somehow the finish line keeps moving. Because the moment one task is finished, another one pops in to take its place, and one more and one more. And so the cycle continues. It's clicking into just one more email when your brain's already foggy, or checking Slack while dinner's cooking because you don't want to lose momentum, like you can't shut off your brain. And on the surface, you're telling yourself, I'm in the zone. I'm getting things done. But what's really happening underneath the surface is something very different. Because powering through doesn't build focus, it drains it. And every time you override your body's signals for a break, your brain moves from clarity to survival. And the longer you stay there, the harder it becomes to access your best ideas, your creativity, and your patience. You see, we've been conditioned to believe that slowing down means falling behind, that if you pause, you'll lose your edge, that rest is the opposite of progress. But the truth is, what feels like control in those moments is actually a sign that you're running on adrenaline, not alignment. And that's why so many high achieving women end their days staring at the screen, wondering why their focus feels scattered, even after they've checked all the boxes. What I truly want you to understand is that willpower doesn't create focus. It erodes it. Think of it like this. If you've ever told yourself, I just need to power through this one last thing, this is where I want you to start listening differently. Because what you've been calling focus isn't focus at all. It's survival wearing productivity as a mask. And the cost of that belief, that's where we're going next. So now that we've talked about the myth that staying focused means pushing past the signals that tell you to pause, let's talk about what that belief is actually costing you. Because while powering through looks like focus on the surface, underneath it's what's quietly draining the very energy that makes focus possible. Every time you skip a reset, you're trading your clarity for motion, and you end up feeling like you worked all day but never really got anywhere. You know, those days where you know you were busy, but you can't quite put your finger on what you did all day. It starts small. You rush from one Zoom call to the next, promising yourself that you'll take a break after this next one. You grab another coffee instead of stepping outside for a few breaths so that you can power through into the next thing, thinking that caffeine is what you need just to keep going, right? To force yourself to keep going. You check your email while you're eating lunch because it feels like multitasking is the right thing to do in that moment so that you don't fall behind. But that's really doing is it's fragmenting your attention one decision at a time. And I truly believe that multitasking, although a lot of us think that multitasking is such a great trait to have, it just really depends on what you're multitasking. Okay, let me explain what I mean. So if you're like, say, for example, you've gone and put a load of laundry in and you're coming and you are washing the dishes and you are listening to a podcast while you're drying your dishes and putting them away. Multitasking like that is okay. What I'm talking about when it comes to things that are important, that move the needle forward, and you're trying to do everything all at once. You're answering emails, you're getting on a Zoom call, you're on a Zoom call, maybe in a meeting, an important maybe meeting where you're talking with your team about things. And while you're listening, you're actually answering emails. So your focus is a little bit distracted and you miss some things that get said. That is not a good use of your time because what you're doing is you're not really fully there. You're diluting where your focus needs to be, if that makes sense. So at first you might think it's working because, for example, maybe you are getting through your emails while you're on that Zoom call, or are you getting through some things? You stay on top of the things that you need to get through. But let's say by mid-afternoon, your patience is running that much thinner, right? Your mind's foggier, your body's buzzing like it's stuck in overdrive, and that leaves you finishing your day with boxes checked, but you still feel restless, like you were busy all day, but you never really got anything meaningful done. At least in your mind, you never got anything meaningful done because you couldn't really see like what you were doing and feeling like it was a good, productive day. And when that happens, the emotional cost starts to stack up because you start to feel reactive to things instead of calm and proactively responding. You start second guessing your decisions some decisions that normally you make with confidence, you start second guessing them. And even though you're moving fast, everything feels heavy because your nervous system never gets the memo that it's safe to slow down. So that by evening, you're still carrying the day in your head. Like you're thinking about what you missed, what still needs to get done, what you'll fix tomorrow. And so when you sit down for dinner, your mind's still logged in. And your loved ones, although you're there, they're getting your company, they're not getting connection. And they would get the presence of your body, like being in the seat, but they're not getting that emotional energy because mentally you're still running a race that never seems to end. And when this becomes your default, the cost compounds because your focus starts to blur, your creativity can flatline, and you wake up feeling tired even after having a full night's sleep because your brain never actually powered down. So maybe it manifests in your body and it shows up as tension, like tension headaches, a racing mind when you're trying to rest, or that edge of irritability that spills out at the smallest thing and you snap at little things that really wouldn't bother you normally. Maybe you notice you're snapping more often, right? Like feeling like you're angry all the time, which most times when we think about it, is not really from anger, but from exhaustion, if you actually thought about that. And then the deeper cost, every time you skip a reset, you reinforce the habit that only movement equals progress, even when you know what you really need is a moment to breathe. And instead of slowing down, you send yourself the message, my needs can wait. And over time, that message becomes your baseline, which has you believing that stillness is indulgent, that taking 5 minutes is wasted time, that rest is something you earn instead of something you build in, and that buzzword of self-care is selfish and something you just don't have time for. Here's what I need you to hear. When you push through to exhaustion and you ignore your cues, ignoring your need to give yourself those resets for recharging, that is not energy mastery. That is just survival disguised as focus because real focus is not about forcing yourself to stay on. It's about knowing when to step back, take those resets, those tiny micro resets, those tiny breaks so that your energy and your clarity and your creativity can return stronger. You come back with a fresh, you feel like you've taken that break and you come back feeling fresh. It's like, you know how you go on vacation sometimes and you come back and you're like, wow, that was so amazing. It was what I really needed. Even if it was only a weekend away, and you come back and you feel really good, energized, like it was just what you needed. This is where the shift begins, right? Because when you stop chasing focus through force, you start building it through rhythm, and that's where everything can change for you. So let's zoom out for a moment because this is where the real transformation begins. You already know what it feels like to keep pushing through. You've done it for some time now, maybe even for years. And you've told yourself it's just a busy week. You've said, once I get through this, whatever this is that you're working on, then I'll rest. But somehow that rest keeps getting pushed to someday, the day after things finally slow down, which, let's be honest, never actually comes, right? Life doesn't work like that. We don't have a crystal ball that we can look into and like, oh, tomorrow is going to be a much better day because today is my heavy work day and tomorrow is going to be amazing. I'm going to be able to just relax and do what I want. And sometimes that happens, but we know that life doesn't just say, oh, that's what you have planned, no problem, and that nothing ever does happen, right? You've learned to run on adrenaline for so long that you've started to mistake it for energy. And you've built a tolerance for stress so high that quiet feels uncomfortable to you. But here's the truth that often we're not even thinking about, and we don't often learn it until we've hit burnout. Resilience isn't built in the recovery, okay? It's not about how quickly you can bounce back. It's about how consistently you stay grounded before you break, right? It's not about surviving hard seasons. It's about designing your days so those seasons don't drain you in the first place. You see, we've bought into a myth that focus is something you hold on to through sheer effort, and clarity is something you find once the chaos settles. But clarity doesn't wait for quiet. It's created through it. which means that clarity isn't something you chase when you're already spent, but something you build into the way you move through your day. And that's where micro resets come in. And no, they're not fluffy self-care moments or bonus breaks you earn once everything's done. They're leadership tools, self-leadership tools, real tangible systems designed to help you regulate, refocus, and re-energize in real time. They're not about you having to do less in order to be able to cope. They're about doing what matters better with energy that lasts. So let me show you what that can actually look like. The first one I want to talk about is the breath reset. This is one of my favorites. I love breath work. If you never experienced breath work, I encourage you to go Google a breath work. Go Google breath work and how to do it as far as like the different ways of doing breath work. I just find that it's a great way to calm your nervous system. So it's not about, I'm not talking about when you're in the middle of something really crazy and you need to like calm down. I'm talking about the type of reset where it's like, okay, let me reset myself so that I can get into the next thing that is on my calendar, that's on my plate to do. So, what I am suggesting here for you as a breath reset is really just taking 3 deliberate inhales that can help you reclaim your command. Basically, the kind of breath that shifts you out of reaction and back into leadership energy, right? You're not centering because you're overwhelmed. You're recalibrating because you want precision. You want to be present for the next thing. Okay. And so in that, you know, I would say like 30 seconds. Like this is like a really short way of just like resetting. You're choosing to lead your next moment from clarity instead of the noise, right? So it's really just kind of bringing yourself inside into yourself and allowing those 3 deliberate long inhales and deep exhales to really just ground and center you. Because I know a breath isn't a pause, it's a power move. I believe that because it's just taking that time to just reset. You're saying, okay, reset. Let me give you an analogy as an example. You know how you go into a place, let's say Sephora, and they have like these little jars of coffee beans. It's so that when you are smelling the perfume, you take a whiff of the coffee beans to bring yourself back to center so that the next fragrance that you smell won't be overtaken by the previous one. So that's what I mean by a reset. Now the next one is the body reset. This isn't about the cliche stretch between meetings. It's remembering that your body is your first feedback system, right? Because you know how you're sitting and you start to get like your shoulders get tight or your lower back starts to feel uncomfortable. That's a cue from your body. It's feedback that you need to take a reset. So it's standing up, grounding your feet into the floor, or if you're outside, which would be even better, which I know a lot of people say go outside, take off your socks, shoes and socks, and stand on grass and just kind of ground into the earth. But if you can't do that, simply just standing and grounding your feet into the floor and feeling your posture align before you, go into the next thing, before you go into the boardroom meeting or into the next Zoom call, right? Whether, virtual or in person, whether it's a client conversation or even dinner with your family, before you even go and sit down at the dinner table and you need to just a reset, this is a good way to just get your body like back into the present moment, giving yourself that time to stand, ground your feet, feel your posture align, maybe even like stretch your arms over your head and just feel like your body is you're just coming back into your body. It's you choosing to really just kind of bring yourself into back into the moment of like your body, right? So I would even suggest doing the breaths first and then this, because especially if you're going into a meeting, it doesn't take long, right? You're just actually restoring access to your full energy by taking a moment to reset. Because when your body is anchored, your mind follows and everything you touch reflects that alignment. So, and finally, and that's why these are like just small little resets that I'm giving you. There's a ton of things that you can do. Another one that I love about the body is one that I learned from Sherman, what's his name? Oh my gosh. Shirzad Shamin, who talks about positive intelligence. And one of the things he taught me was the power of touch and sound. And so the first one was touch and being able to like feel like closing your eyes and then taking your index finger and your thumb and just rubbing the tips together and feeling the ridges and just bringing your senses to that, bringing yourself within to actually notice that. And it removes the outside noise and brings you in to what's happening in that present moment. And the other one, as I mentioned, was sound, which I really love. And that was it's kind of like, I guess, bringing yourself into your body, but it's actually closing your eyes and listening for what's the closest sound you can hear and what's the furthest sound you can hear. And it's like bringing your awareness to just what's going on around you and allowing yourself to not allow the busyness of life to take over. Okay. Finally, the last one I want to touch on today is the boundary reset. This is the one that has the potential really to change everything. It's that split second pause before you hit reply to that email or agree to something or absorb someone else's energy or their urgency. And this is a moment where you ask yourself, does this actually belong to me? It's meaning their urgency, their energy, what they're bringing to the table. If it's really not making you feel really good, it's understanding that our interactions with other people is an exchange of energy. And so the pause really is important. You're not hesitating, you're discerning the situation. It's a quiet recalibration that keeps you from leaking emotional energy into things that aren't aligned with your priorities. And so you're not really avoiding responsibility, you're honoring your capacity. Because every boundary resets a declaration that your peace is part of your performance, not the price of it. And so if you caught my episode a few weeks ago about why boundaries are they're about us. They're not about other people. They're not about us controlling other people. It's about us being able to help ourselves go through life in a way that we feel really good, and how in our choices, in the decisions that we make, and the people that we surround ourselves with, and how we allow others to treat us and how we treat other people. Boundaries are a way of doing that. And there was a difference because a lot of people just go briefly into it, a lot of people use barriers as boundaries, thinking that, oh, it's a line in the sand, and that's to keep the other person on the other side. It's a way of controlling someone else. And we can't control other people. We can only control how we show up in the world. So that's why instead of being someone who uses barriers, unless, of course, the barrier is a form of protection to keep someone away from you that's toxic, to keep yourself out of a toxic environment, that's a different thing. But a boundary is really about being able to just, use your energy and time well to support yourself, holding yourself accountable to it, and so that you can show up as the best version of yourself. So I wanted to just kind of go into that for a minute. So these little micro resets, again, if you're going into a meeting, you want to take 30 seconds to do like some deep inhales and exhales, then really like bringing yourself into your body by standing and grounding your feet into the ground and feeling your posture align itself and, bringing yourself back into the present, right? And making sure that when you go in, what's your intention going into that meeting? What do you want to walk away with? That's another form of like a boundary, like what you're willing to absorb and what you're not. If there's someone in your meetings that typically gets under your skin, maybe you're going in and you're saying, this is not about me. This is about them. Maybe it's them projecting their feelings. I can just be there and be a source of comfort for that person and not allow that to stick to me, and having that as your set when you go into that next meeting. So that's just an idea that just came to me right now as I was thinking about what this could look like. You see, micro resets don't slow you down. They actually help you to stabilize your internal operating system, and they help you protect the quality of your focus, the steadiness of your energy, the sharpness of your creativity. Because when your body feels regulated, your mind can think clearly, right? And when your mind's clear, you stop reacting and you start guiding the moment instead of being pulled by it. So think about it like this. I want to give you another analogy, another like visual. An airline pilot, for example, doesn't wait until the plane is shaking to check the controls, right? They're constantly scanning, adjusting, recalibrating, small course corrections that keep everything steady in the air. Well, your micro resets work the same way. They're not about fixing anything. They're about maintaining altitude, which means staying steady, responsive, and fully in command, even when conditions change. They're not about taking time away from your productivity. They're how you sustain your productivity without sacrificing your peace, your time, and your energy. So every 3-minute pause you protect is how you choose focus over frenzy. And every intentional reset you take is an act of leadership over your time, your boundaries, and your emotional and energetic bandwidth. Because here's what I know about you as a high achieving woman. It's what I know about myself as a high achieving woman. Let's just say collectively, we don't want to just get through our days, right? We want to feel clear, present, and powerful while we're in the doing of it. We want to finish our work and still have energy left for what fills us back up. The laughter around the dinner table, the quiet of a sunset walk with our significant other, the joy of reading something just because it inspires us, or the space to sit in stillness without feeling like you should be somewhere else doing something else. And that's what micro resets can give you. Consistency. Not the illusion of control, but the steady cadence that keeps your nervous system, your emotions, and your focus in sync. When you design your day this way, you stop relying on willpower to get through, and you begin to trust rhythm over rush, awareness over autopilot, and systems over sheer effort. That's what's powerful about this shift, is that it changes how you see resilience altogether, because resilience stops being reactive, a tool that's reactive, something that you reach for after you've hit empty, and it becomes proactive, a system that you build and put into place that keeps you centered, even when everything around you speeds up. When you design resilience into your life, you get to build momentum that feels calm, not chaotic. You get to lead from your full capacity, not the leftover scraps of energy that remain after everyone else has been served. That's the shift I want you to experience, not to just understand, but to really truly live into this. You see, you don't earn your steadiness by grinding harder, you build it moment by moment through intentional micro resets that keep you clear, keep you calm, and connected to yourself all day long. Because high performance without energy design isn't strength, it's strain, right? But when it's built on rhythm, that's what true self leadership looks like and feels like steady, clear, and a fully alive. So let's be honest. Do you want another checklist of habits to squeeze into your already full day? Like another, say, oh, I need to have a full morning routine in order to start my day right. And that's going to sustain me throughout the whole day. And then have a full hour, 2-hour evening routine that's going to end my day well. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with those things, because if you have the time and the availability to do that, it's fabulous, because I've done it both ways. But I know that not everyone has that availability in their time, because you have families, you have commitments. So it's really important to understand that it's not about all of the having these big to-do lists as a routine for taking care of you. And let's be honest, do you want another system that is telling you to wake up earlier, to drink more water, or plan your day down to the minute, right? Like, I understand, yes, it's good to drink more water. It's good for the body, good for the brain. Planning your day is really good too. Waking up without a plan really is like you're not really planning a day that's going to be productive, right? But it's not having it done to the point where it's down minute to minute to minute, because life doesn't work like that. And maybe waking up earlier doesn't appeal to you because you already wake up early enough, right? It's really it's really about knowing what works for you. And right now, I can actually see you shaking your head because you've already tried all of these things, right? You've tried waking up earlier. You've tried to plan your day down to the last minute. You've tried having a checklist of habits. And what that's done for you, it just leaves you feeling like you're managing yourself instead of being yourself. And I get that because I felt like that too at some point. And I came to understand that what really worked for me was my self-care days could be different every single day. Like I don't have to do the same things every day. I just have a toolbox of things that I can pull from and do whatever's in my toolbox whenever I feel like throughout my day. And it doesn't have to be the same every day. I know if you're like me, what you actually want is to feel clear, right? Before the world starts pulling at you. I know you want to wake up and know that your energy is working for you, not against you, to move through your day steady and focused without needing to chase motivation or fight distraction, and to end your work days without guilt, knowing that you've done enough, that what you've done actually matters. And maybe you want consistency in closing your laptop at 2 p.m. every day because your systems support you, not because you've hit your limit. To be able to sit at dinner with your family, actually taste your food, hear the laughter, feel present with your kids without your brain circling to the next thing or what happened that day or the next messages or like what's next on your list. And you want space not as an escape, but as your normal so that your energy lasts, not something that you have to constantly earn back. Because here's the truth. It's not about slowing down, like I've said. It's about stability. It's about having the capacity to keep rising without running yourself into the ground so that you don't have to wave the white flag and step back from the very life you've worked so hard to build. At the end of the day, resilience isn't about slowing down your ambition. It's about moving in sync with your energy so that progress feels powerful, not punishing. And when you design a rhythm into your day that sustains your energy and your workflow, that's what resilience by design can give you. And that's the difference between running on adrenaline and leading from alignment, between surviving your schedule and being fully present in it, and between working from pressure and creating from peace. And when you build in micro resets into your day, those small intentional pauses that protect your energy before it drains you, you stop waiting for rest to rescue you. And you start living in a rhythm that fuels you. And that's what you crave, right? It's what we all crave. To be the woman whose focus lasts, whose present fills the room, whose energy doesn't vanish the moment something goes wrong, and to be able to walk through our days clear, calm, and confident, knowing we've built a system that keeps us steady no matter how full life gets. So let's bring this back to you and how your life looks right now. Think about your day yesterday, or even today if you're listening and it's later in the day. How often did you tell yourself, I'll take a break after this, whatever that this is, only to move straight into the next thing? How many times did you feel that quiet pull in your body, that sigh, that shoulder tension, that moment your brain felt foggy and you ignored it because you thought you didn't have time to pause? Be honest, okay? When was the last time you actually gave yourself a real reset? Not scrolling your phone because that's not resetting, not checking your email or text messages or your Facebook Messenger messages. Just you taking a few minutes to breathe, to stretch, or simply exist without producing something. And if you can't remember, that's okay. It's really simply feedback for you around your habits. Because here's the thing most of us forget. Your mind doesn't just need rest, it needs rhythm. It needs built-in support, the kind that helps you hold steady instead of holding your breath between tasks. And every time you push through instead of pausing, you're teaching yourself that survival is the only mode that you can trust. So if that's you, what would shift if you started protecting your capacity with the same consistency that you protect your commitments to everyone and everything else? What would it feel like if your brain had space to exhale between meetings? If your nervous system could recalibrate before the next demand hit your inbox? If you could walk into every part of your day grounded, knowing you have enough energy to meet what's in front of you without losing yourself in it? Because remember this, steadiness isn't built on once a year vacations or the rare quiet weekends. It's built in the intentional pauses you protect in the middle of real life. So here's my invitation for you as you move through this week. Choose one intentional micro reset, something simple you can weave into the spaces that already exist between your meetings, before opening your inbox, after you hit send on that last message, anywhere your brain usually rushes to fill the silence, and just put in a reset and then notice what shifts. Does your next meeting feel calmer? Does your mind feel clearer? Does your body feel more anchored instead of tense? Because that's the thing about resilience by design. It starts small, not with a life overhaul, but with one conscious pause that reminds you that I'm safe to slow down. I don't have to push to prove. That's how you start turning survival mode into steady momentum, one reset at a time. So if you're listening right now and you're nodding your head and you're realizing that that's been your pattern, that you've been promising yourself breaks, but you never take them, and you've been convincing yourself that pushing through just a little longer will somehow make tomorrow or next week easier, yet every day and every week still feels like a race you didn't sign up for, if that sounds familiar to you, this is your reminder. It doesn't have to stay that way. Because focus, steadiness, and energy aren't things you earn through willpower. They're built through design. And that's exactly what we do inside the Aligned Self-Mastery Experience. It's where I teach you how to design your energy, your days, and your decision systems so that you're no longer relying on survival mode to carry you through. Inside, we go deep into resilience and energy mastery, one of the 3 pillars of the program, where you learn how to use micro resets, decision filters, and capacity protection tools to keep your clarity sharp and your nervous system steady in real time. So if you've noticed that you're spending more time recovering from your days than actually living them, and you're ready to lead your energy differently, then the Aligned Self-Mastery Experience could be what you've been looking for. If you want to know more, the way in is through a Yes Reset strategy call. And on that call, we'll then uncover where your energy is leaking, where later keeps stealing your recovery time, your downtime, and how to design simple daily systems that support you before you hit empty. And if it feels aligned, we'll explore whether stepping into the Aligned Self-Mastery Experience is something you want to explore. You can find the link to apply for your call in the show notes. And I'm excited for those of you who reach out. I'm looking forward to talking to you. Now, before you step into the rest of your week, I want you to remember this. Again, your focus, I know I'm doubling down, but I want you to hear this. Your focus isn't built in the moments that you're sprinting, okay? It's built in the moments that you pause. And every time you take 3 mindful breaths before your next meeting, every time you stand up and stretch first before opening Slack or your inbox, you're signaling that your energy comes first and not everyone else's urgency. And every time you give yourself a micro reset before reacting to the next thing, you are teaching yourself that clarity and calm are safe places to return to. Because resilience doesn't come from pushing harder. It comes from learning how to pause smarter. It's not about slowing down. It's about protecting the rhythm that keeps your energy steady and your presence intact. So as you move through this week, I want you to practice designing your focus, not chasing it. Notice where a 3-minute reset might serve you better than just stepping into another thing, another task with no chance for giving your brain a break. Protect one small moment of stillness and see how it changes the way the rest of your day unfolds. Because when you lead your energy with intention, you don't just get through your day, you move through it clear, calm, and confident. That's resilience by design. And that's what living an extraordinary life by design is all about. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you have a fabulous rest of your day and a great week ahead. Until next time, keep dreaming, keep believing, and keep designing your extraordinary life one day at a time. Thank you for joining me on Her Extraordinary Life by Design. I hope you've been inspired and empowered by the incredible stories shared on this show. If you enjoyed this episode and the conversations we've had, I would greatly appreciate if you could take a moment to leave a review. Your feedback and support mean the world to me, and it will help others discover the podcast and join our empowering community. Remember to hit the subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Together, we can continue to learn from these amazing women, uncover their extraordinary journeys, and be motivated to create our own lives by design. Thank you again for tuning in. Until next time, stay empowered and keep shaping your extraordinary life one day at a time.
I'm Iris, and for over 5 years I've been chasing Dracula. Actually, make that Draculits, from the recently discovered lost Nordic versions of Bram Stoker's famous novel. Learn the truth in the Powers of Darkness podcast from Or Whatever Movies. Rising from the Dead, October 2025.
Hi, it's me, Flo. Remember me from Ghost Hampton, the podcast? I was secretly in love with Lyle Hall. Well, now I'm dead and loving it. But let's talk about you. If you loved listening to Ghost Hampton, you can now spend the summer in the Hamptons. The original episodes are back, and now new episodes will be dropping every Friday. I may drop in too, just to make Lyle feel guilty. Ghost Hampton, the podcast, is now streaming everywhere.
Electric